Well, President Abbas is in Doha today for a meeting of Arab League representatives. Saeb Erekat is the Chief Palestinian negotiator. He joins us live from that Arab League meeting here in Doha. Mr. Erekat, thanks for being with us once again. Referring to Mr. Netanyahu's speech before US Congress last week, President Abbas said that it contained, quote, nothing we can build on. What is the aim then of this meeting in Doha today?
The aim of this meeting is to consult with all Arabs on the steps that we announced already that we're going to take, especially our intention to go to the Security Council for seeking Palestine to be admitted as a full member at the UN next September. We want to formalize an official strategy of all Arabs. We want to see to it that without the Israeli government accepting President Obama's vision of two states on 1967 lines, it'll be a waste of time to talk about peace or process. As far as Mr. Netanyahu is concerned, I can answer Mr. Netanyahu with 6 words, actually, 6 words. Netanyahu is not a partner in peace. Having said what he said about the dictation he wants to do in Jerusalem, refugees, borders, settlements, that's not negotiations, that's dictation. So absolutely,
okay.
The Israeli government is not a partner in peace.
All right.
So now our focus, if the Israeli government continues its fait accompli policies, settlement activities, rejecting the President of the United States vision of 2 states on 67, then we are at it. We're going to the Security Council to have Palestine admitted as a full member on the 1967 lines. This is not to isolate Israel.
Okay.
This is to isolate the Israeli occupation.
All right, I want to talk to you, Mr. Erekat. I want to talk to you a little. I want to talk to you a little more about that in just a moment. But first, you talk about Netanyahu not being a partner for peace. What about Palestinian disappointment with President Obama? He failed to call for a cessation of settlement building. He didn't mention Jerusalem or a right of return for Palestinian refugees. He's made it clear that he wouldn't support a Palestinian move at the UN for recognition of statehood. If Netanyahu isn't a partner for peace, what about Obama?
Well, I think, look, at the same time, we're saying President Obama for the first time identified state of Palestine with permanent borders with Jordan, Egypt, and Israel. And he said that the negotiation should lead to a Palestinian 2 states on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps. This we welcome, this we accept, but we want to hear this position accepted by any Israeli government before we talk about negotiations. Now, the United States, Israel is part of America's political life. Arabs have failed to speak with the US in the language of interests. And in my opinion, the West does not understand any language other than interests. And as far as us as Arabs, we're cost-free because when we go to London, Paris, Washington, we speak of everything except for the real interest of the Arabs and the future with the Arab-Israeli conflict. Anyway, now my occupying power is Israel. The United States did not wake up one morning and said its establishment of Palestinian state is a national interest for them. The US today occupies Iraq and Afghanistan. Political geography changed. The US borders are no longer with Canada, Mexico, and the 2 oceans. When a nation has 230,000 soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, it means their borders are with Turkey, Iran, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, China, the Gulf, Saudi, Syria, and Jordan. And the functional role of nations have changed. All what's in it for me as a Palestinian, and I speak the language of interests, without drying the swamp of the Israeli occupation, without establishing a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital on 1967, democracy will not work, stability will not work, the extremists will win, and that's the truth.
Okay. All right.
2 things are needed to salvage this region. One is democracy, and anyone who says Arabs are not ready for democracy is a racist.
Okay.
And secondly, is ending the Israeli occupation that began 1967.
All right. Will President Abbas get a unified response from the Arab League today?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will, but we'll have to wait and see. I think we will have an open discussion, and I'm sure by tomorrow morning we will have a communique by the Arab Follow-up Committee.
Okay, what would it take to persuade President Abbas to drop the idea of going to the UN?
For Prime Minister Netanyahu to say in any language he chooses, he can speak in Hebrew, Arabic, English, Chinese, Russian, French, any language. I accept the 2-state solution on the 1967 lines, period. It's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to say that he recognizes a Palestinian state on the 1967 lines. Without this, as I said to you, with 6 words, Netanyahu is not a partner in peace.
Mr. Erekat, just before you go, I just want to, very briefly, if you can, please, your thoughts on the opening today of the Rafah crossing between Egypt and the Gaza Strip.
We welcome this Egyptian step. We want Egypt to take every possible step for 2 things. One, we want to ensure the success of the reconciliation, which we're really expediting our efforts and exerting every effort in order to achieve the unity, the government that we want to achieve as soon as possible. And secondly, to alleviate the suffering of 1.5 million people in Gaza who have suffered more than enough.
Mr. Erekat, many thanks indeed. Saeb Erekat, the Chief Palestinian negotiator.